Good morning, and welcome to this sacred and solemn Good Friday service. We give good thanks that you are able to worship today on this solemn and a very important day of the Easter weekend. After worship, we invite you to a social hour downstairs in Zion Hall, where we enjoy some cheese and hot cross buns and refreshments and social time around table. Many people, many volunteers have helped make this worship service happen today, and so we give great thanks for all that are participating and all who are helping. During our worship today, we will be led with monologues and scripture, hymns and songs as we reflect on this day. And we invite everyone to remain seated for our hymns. And at the end of worship, I'm going to invite everyone to leave in silence until we get downstairs. We call this day Good Friday, but what's good about it? It's not good because of what happens today. It's not good because of the suffering or sorrow. It's good because somewhere, somehow, in the midst of it all, love doesn't turn away. It's good because God meets us here in the most human places of fear, loss, and sadness, and refuses to let even this be the end of the story. On this day, we witness the depth of love that stays. Love that doesn't run when things fall apart. Love that holds steady even when everything else seems to give away. We come today not because we have all the answers to our faith questions, but because the story continues to meet us. Where do you find yourself in this story today? In the uncertainty? In the longing? Perhaps in the quiet watching? And each year, we do return to this story, and each year it meets us in a different place. And somehow, as we stand here again, we begin to see that even here, even now, God is at work. Please join me in the call to worship. We gather on this day called good, though the story is heavy. We come seeking the love that does not turn away. We gather at the cross where the world's pain is laid bare. We come trusting that God meets us here. We come in the shadow and the silence, not yet at the ending. We come holding on to hope, even now. Come, let us worship the one whose love endures. We come to worship and to remember.
You
Jesus is arrested. So the soldiers, their officer, and the Jewish police arrested Jesus and bound him. First, they took him to Annas, who was the father-in-law of Caiaphas, the high priest that year. Caiaphas was the one who advised the Jews that it was better to have one person die for the people.
I can still see it. It's burned into my mind like I'm still there, still standing in the garden, still watching him pray. I couldn't turn back, the lanterns, the noise of the soldiers. It was already too late. And then he started walking towards us, toward me, and I knew what I had done. Oh God, have mercy. I'm not usually like this. I'm supposed to be steady, responsible, the one who keeps things in order. I believe in him. I really did. His words, they reached something deep in me. In a world filled with fear and oppression, he spoke of freedom, of wholeness, of love. I wasn't like the others. Not loud like Peter or bold like James and John, but I gave what I could. I thought that was enough. Somewhere along the way, it changed. I started to think I knew better. I tried to control things. No, not like that. No, don't do this. No, this isn't how it's supposed to go. I thought I understood what the Messiah should be, so I went to the priest. I told myself I was helping, that maybe I could force things. Make him become the king I thought he should be. But that's not what I did. I betrayed him for 30 pieces of silver. 30 pieces of silver. I would give anything to go back, to stop it, to turn around, to choose differently, but I can't. All I can see now is his face turning toward me as I led them to him. Christ, have mercy.
Peter denies Jesus. Simon Peter and another disciple follow Jesus. Since that disciple was known to the high priest, he went with Jesus into the courtyard of the high priest. But Peter was standing outside at the gate. So the disciple who had known to the high priest, went out, spoke to the woman who guarded the gate, and brought Peter in. The woman said to Peter, "You are not also one of his disciples, are you?" And he said, "I am not." Now the slaves and the police had made a charcoal fire because it was cold, and they were standing around it and warming themselves. Peter also was standing around with them and warming himself. Now Simon Peter was standing and warming themselves. They asked him, "You are not also one of his disciples, are you?" He denied it and said, "I am not." One of the slaves of the high priest, a relative of the man whose ear Peter had cut off, asked, "Did I not see you in the garden with him?" Again Peter denied it, and at that moment the cock crowed.
Peter speaks. It was dark. The firelight flickered at the edge of the courtyard, but the light didn't matter anyway. Nothing could be bright after he was taken away, and we were left in the garden, blood still shining on my sword. Despite the overwhelming fog that pushed me down, I somehow managed to move my feet, following Jesus as they took him away. I stood outside the door to his trial, straining to listen, to see, trying to figure out what to do. But I could not hear anything, and I could not do anything. So I stood there, empty, cold. The first time a woman spoke to me, I barely heard her because the fog surrounding me dampened everything. It was easy to say no. I didn't want to talk to anybody. After she spoke to me, I moved away from the door, trying not to draw attention to myself. I unconsciously began to warm myself by the fire, but I couldn't feel its warmth. I couldn't even smell the smoke. Then two others asked me the same question. "Are you not one of the man's disciples?" I wasn't thinking. Not through it, anyway. Nothing. It was like a nightmare I was supposed to wake up from any minute, but the cock crowed and I didn't wake up. I just realized that I had denied knowing the one person who loved me more than anyone in the entire world did, more than anyone else ever could.
Before Pilate. Then they took Jesus from Caiaphas to Pilate's headquarters in the early of the morning. They themselves did not enter the headquarters so as to avoid ritual defilement and to be able to eat the Passover. So Pilate went out to them and said, "What accusation do you bring against this man?" They answered, "If this man were not a criminal, we would not have handed him over to you." Pilate said to them, "Take him yourselves and judge him according to your law." The Jews replied, "We are not permitted to put anyone to death." This was to fulfill what Jesus had said when he indicated the kind of death he was to die. Then Pilate entered the headquarters again and summoned Jesus and asked him, "Are you the king of the Jews?" Jesus answered, "Do you ask this on your own, or did others tell you about me?" Pilate replied, "I am not a Jew, am I? Your own nation and the chief priests have handed you over to me. What have you done?" Jesus answered, "My kingdom does not belong to this world. If my kingdom belonged to this world, my followers would be fighting to keep me from being handed over to the Jews. But as it is, my kingdom is not from here." Pilate asked him, "So, you are a king?" Jesus answered, "You say that I am a king. For this I was born. For this I came into the world, to testify to the truth. Everyone who belongs to the truth listens to my voice." Pilate asked him, "What is the truth?"
I know how you, and yet people called him king. King. I was a governor of Rome. I understood power, structure, authority. He spoke of something else. He spoke of truth. And I asked him, "What is truth?" Because where I come from, truth is simple. Truth is power. Truth is control. Truth is whatever holds the world together. There was something in the way he spoke. I found no crime in him. No one deserved death. But the voices around me grew louder. The pressure built, the risk too great. So I gave in. I handed him over. I told myself it wasn't my doing, that I was only keeping the peace. I even washed my hands, as if that could make it clean. But here is the truth I cannot escape. We were all meant to forget him, to move on, to let this be just another day, and yet I can't. I still see him standing there. I still hear his voice. And I still feel it, that moment, when everything I thought I knew about power, about truth, no longer seemed certain.
Jesus is sentenced to death. After Pilate had said this, he went out to the Jews again and told them, "I find no case against him, but you have a custom that I release someone for you at the Passover. Do you want me to release to you the King of the Jews?" They shouted in reply, "Not this man, but Barabbas." Now Barabbas was a bandit. Then Pilate took Jesus and had him flogged. And the soldiers wove a crown of thorns and put it on his head, and they dressed him in a purple robe. And they kept coming up to him and saying, "Hail, King of the Jews," and striking him across the face. Pilate went out again and said to them, "Look, I am bringing him out to you to let you know that I find no case against him." When the chief priests and the police saw him, they shouted, "Crucify him! Crucify him!" "I find no case against him." The Jews answered him, "We have a law, and according to that law, he ought to die because he has claimed to be the Son of God." Now when Pilate heard this, he was even more afraid. He entered the headquarters again and asked Jesus, "Where are you from?" But Jesus gave him no answer. Pilate therefore said to him, "Do you refuse to speak to me? Do you not know that I have power to release you and power to crucify you?" Jesus answered him, "You would have no power at all over me unless it had been given to you from above. Therefore, the one who handed me over to you is guilty of a greater sin." From then on, Pilate tried to release him, but the Jews cried out, "If you release this man, you are no friend of the emperor. Everyone who claims to be a king sets himself against the emperor." Is it there? No. Okay. When Pilate heard these words, he brought Jesus outside and sat on the judge's bench at a place called the Stone Pavement, or in Hebrew, Gabbatha. Now it was the day of preparation for the Passover, and it was about noon. And he said to the Jews, "Here is your king." And they cried out, "Away with him! Away with him! Crucify him!" Pilate asked them, "Shall I crucify your king?" And the chief priests answered, "We have no king but the emperor." Then he handed him over to them to be crucified.
The crucifixion of Jesus. So they took Jesus, and carrying the skull by himself, he went out to what is called the place of the skull, which in Hebrew is called Golgotha. There they crucified him with 2 others, one on either side, with Jesus between them. Pilate also asked an inscription written and put on the cross. It read, "Jesus of Nazareth, the King of the Jews." Many of the Jews read this inscription because the place where Jesus was crucified was near the city, and it was written in Hebrew, in Latin, and in Greek. And then the chief priests of the Jews said to Pilate, "Do not write the King of the Jews, but this man says, 'I am the King of the Jews.'" And Pilate answered, "What I've written, I have written." And when the soldiers had crucified Jesus, they took his clothes and divided them into 4 parts, one for each soldier. They also took his tunic. Now that tunic was seamless, woven in one piece from the top. So they said to one another, "Let's not tear it, but cast lots for it and see who will get it." And this was to fulfill what the scripture says. They divided my clothes among themselves, and for my clothing they cast lots. And this is what the soldiers did. Meanwhile, standing near the cross of Jesus were his mother and his mother's sister, Mary, the wife of Clopas, and Mary Magdalene. And when Jesus saw his mother and the disciple whom he loved standing beside her, he said to his mother, "Woman, here is your son." And then he said to the disciple, "Here is your mother." And from that hour, the disciples took her into his own home.
Jesus' mother speaks. A parent should never have to watch her child die. But I did. I, like too many parents who lose children to accidents or to illness or just to the horrible violence of the world, stood beside the one who I first held in my arms when he was a baby, the one who, since I first felt him stir within me, the one who I'd always seen as perfect and beautiful when no one else does. I stood beside my baby and watched him as his life drained away from him. The sun was shining. The world seemed to get darker and darker as I watched my son's light get snuffed out. When he cried out and I saw that last breath leave his body, it was like my breath left my body too. I collapsed onto the hard earth. Why, oh God, why?
And after this, when Jesus knew that all was now finished, he said, in order to fulfill the scripture, I am thirsty. A jar full of sour wine was standing there. So they put a sponge full of wine on a branch of hyssop and held it to his mouth. And when Jesus had received the wine, he said, "It is finished." And then he bowed his head and he gave up his spirit. And after these things, Joseph of Arimathea, who was a disciple of Jesus, though a secret one because he was fear of the Jews, asked Pilate to let him take away the body of Jesus. And Pilate gave him permission, so he came and removed his body. Nicodemus, who had first come to see Jesus by night, also came, bringing a mixture of myrrh and aloes, weighing about 100 pounds. And they took the body of Jesus and wrapped it in spices and linen cloths, according to the burial custom of the Jews. And now there was a garden in the place where he was crucified. And in that garden there was a new tomb in which no one had ever been laid. And so, because it was the Jewish day of preparation and the tomb was nearby, they laid Jesus there. The light seemed to fade. Not all at once, but slowly. In betrayal, in fear, in silence. The light seemed to fade as voices rose and truth was drowned out. The light seemed to fade as love was met with violence and mercy was met with power. The light seemed to fade as the cross was lifted and the sky drew dim. And as the day comes to its close, we too walk away. We leave in quiet. We leave in shadow. We leave holding a story not yet finished. And for now, we keep watch.